What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about a very controversial and hot topic in the Supra and car community world. We're talking about the haters online, the trolls, the people that can't stand the Mark V Supra, and all of the people that think the 2JZ is the only way that the iconic Supra name can live on and persist. But I hate to break it to all of those people because we do in fact have a BMW powered B58 Supra. And I'll be honest with you, man, this thing's the shit.
Positive vibes only, okay? Exclusively positive vibes. I see one fucking bad vibe in here, I'm gonna lose it.
Just knocked out the first couple of revisions on my custom pump gas tune. It's getting spicy, baby. Oh, it's getting spicy. I am loving this new tune. So we're working on the pump gas tune right now, and then we're moving into an E50 tune next. Obviously, I'm gonna make like a whole video on that and kind of talk to you about it because it's gonna be a really good video. This is all I'm gonna say about it in this video to kind of like amp you guys up, but I've never experienced more of a dramatic change from one tune to another. Awesome, dude. The turbo is so loud in this car. Imagine with a pure 800. All right, so to start this video out, I just quick want to put a message out there, you guys, that this is just strictly, like, these are my opinions on this car and the ownership experience of this car, and kind of talking about what I've seen as far as kickback online and people that just like don't like the car or people that are talking about the car, and overall just like the general criticism about this car and kind of what I see in the forums and the way that people are accepting or taking that criticism. Now, there are obviously a lot of angles to this. There are a lot of things to be discussed. I'm just going to give you guys my basic opinion on the matter from my experience. That's all I can talk about. I try to stick to things that I only know or I have only experienced. So what I really mean by that is, like, I will never discredit or put down a car that I haven't personally owned or worked on, and I will never talk about something that I have never really experienced. All of these cars and all of these platforms have their perks. They have things that you will like about them, and I think you really need to be an owner, or at the very least like rent one for a few months before you have the basis to talk about them. So as we all know, the 2020, 2021 Supras are heavily criticized online. It's mostly kids online. When it comes to people actually seeing this car in person, when I go to car shows, or if I'm just out running errands or stopping to get coffee, the conversations that I have with this car are 100% positive. People love the car, they're blown away by it. They can't believe that you're getting this much car for $50K. And then when I talk to them a little bit more about the car with like the partnership and kind of how much power the car is making, they absolutely fall in love with the car. And then to take it even one step further, once I take them for a ride in the car, it is game over. They have now fallen in love with the car. Now, there are definitely quirks with the Supra, like the size. It's very tiny in the cockpit, so some people just may not be able to get into this car because of the size issues. But for the most part, this car is absolutely incredible. It's an amazing car to own. Now, I will be straight up and honest with you guys. When I first got into this car, I was very skeptical. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, and at first I really didn't like it as much as I have come to love it. But that really did take some time for me because I had to experience this car. I had to live with it for a while to really get my thoughts on its potential and what it is as a platform. So I'm going to try and not get into all of the specifics as to why BMW is working with Toyota. I think the majority of people understand that and they know why. There's an obvious partnership between Toyota and BMW on this car. It is mostly built by BMW. This is basically a Z4 chassis, but the Supra is not just a Z4. There's plenty of information out there on this. If you guys are interested in researching it, I can drop some links down below to help you understand a little more about the differences. But you are really getting the best of both worlds when it comes to JDM and German engineering. You have the BMW engine, you have the BMW heart, the BMW chassis, which are all phenomenal. The B58 platform is absolutely mind-blowing. I have personally never experienced a platform that I love so much in any car. The B58 is the But then you also have Toyota coming in and making sure that this car passes their reliability standards. Toyota went through this car meticulously, turned every single bolt, made sure that these things would be reliable, can hold up to that Toyota brand standard. Toyota is known for being a very reliable car company. When it comes to BMW on the internet mostly, they are not known for being reliable. So that was where Toyota stepped in. They didn't want BMW kind of taking a dump on their reliability standards. So the way that I see it is you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a BMW, but you're getting the reliability of Toyota. Now, when it comes to the Z4, obviously the Z4 is a convertible. Personally, I'm not a fan of convertibles. I would never buy a BMW Z4 because I just don't like convertibles. Targa top? Maybe. If they did make this in a Targa top in the future, I would consider trading it in for the Targa because the Targa is just sick. And I could probably use a little more headroom. So what it comes down to is Toyota needed an inline-six turbo for their Supra project. BMW happened to have had an inline-six turbo engine, the B58, that was ready to go for this project. And it was already proving itself to be one of the best engines that BMW has ever put out. Not only does this car make incredible power very, very easily, but it's also been very reliable. In a lot of the M240s, in the 340s, and the M340s, these engines have proven to be very reliable, even at very, very high horsepower numbers. Now, I know what you're thinking, but John,
Toyota had a turbo inline six. It was the 2JZ. 2JZ or bust. Right?
I mean, that is what I'm hearing from the majority of the 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds in my TikTok comments section. Now, I'm not going to discredit the 2JZ. The 2JZ is remarkable because it is the 2JZ. Everyone knows that the 2JZ is a fantastic engine, but it is old. It's outdated. It is heavy. It doesn't pass today's emissions. Toyota has outwardly come out and said if they had used the 2JZ and put the R&D back into that engine and then offered this car to the public, you would be paying more than $100,000 for a Supra. In order for us to have this car at the price that we currently have it, this partnership needed to happen. Not only was this partnership just about the turbo inline six, they also wanted to be able to offer this car over in the European markets. And in order to do that, they needed the collaboration with BMW. Now, I'm really trying to not dig too far into why this collaboration happened because there is a lot more to it than we know on the internet. And there's a lot more to it than what I'm talking about today. But what I really want to get across to you guys today is a message to all of the people that do own this car or are maybe thinking about buying this car. I can't tell you guys how many times I log onto the Supra forums or like the Facebook groups in the morning and I read some of the stuff that people are saying and it just blows my mind how many people are so concerned about the opinions of others on the car that they use their money for to buy. Why are we concerned? Why do you care what other people are saying? So here's a little bit of perspective. The majority of people that are talking about this car that don't like it were never in the market for this car anyways. I would say that 50% of them don't even have their driver's license. And for the majority of you guys that are worried about, people calling it a BMW or people saying it should have been the 2JZ, stop giving credibility to other people's opinions based on decisions that you make for yourself. This is a car that you wanted. And the reason you bought this car is because you fell in love with it. Don't let other people's opinions discredit that. See, it was kind of like the opposite for me because when I first bought the car, I was very skeptical. Skeptical because I had heard so much. Hearing all of these opinions online and people just blabbering about things when like half the time they didn't even have driver's licenses. And I was like, man, did I make a mistake? Like, did I mess up when I bought this Supra? I caught myself kind of falling into that wheelhouse. And after a while, you really do become just numb to the people talking about this car. in a negative light, whether they're saying nice BMW, it should have been a 2JZ, that's not a real Supra. The reality is, the more that I've lived with this car, and the more that I've worked on this car, and the more that I've made content on this car, the more that I've fallen in love with this car. Now, I am a BMW guy, but I come from a JDM background, so this might just be like the perfect combination for me. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the guys that I know and a lot of the people that I talk to in the car community, they come from similar circumstances as me. They have a JDM background, but they are now into German vehicles or BMWs. This is the sweet spot. This car right here is the sweet spot. So if you can just navigate through all of that hate and all of the ridiculous people throwing out their opinions that have never experienced anything with this car, I think you'll be able to find an amazing platform and an incredible vehicle. There just is no doubt that this is probably one of the more controversial vehicles that exists today. But what people are forgetting is that partnerships and collaborations have been happening for a very long time. This is nothing new. It's just that kids had an idea of what the Supra should have been, and they were very disappointed when it wasn't that. But in life, everything evolves. Nothing stays the same, and collaborations are where incredible partnerships and products come to life. Now, do we know how reliable this car will be in the future? Not really. There aren't that many high mileage Supras out there. This car is relatively new. But I can tell you there have been many people pushing this platform extremely hard, beyond 1,000 horsepower with these engines, and they have taken the abuse and they still drive perfectly fine, no issues. Now, I personally drive this car very, very hard. It's probably been flash tuned over 75 times. I've obviously had my hands pretty much on the entire car. Everywhere that you can think of, I've pretty much touched on this car so far. It just takes it. It takes everything that I do to it beautifully. Every time that we tune it, every time that we work on it, it just responds better and better. Now, obviously, the steering wheel is probably my least favorite part on this entire car. But if that's it, like if you're gonna talk about an entire vehicle and the steering wheel is the only part that you hate, I just don't think that that's like a real problem, because it can be so easily fixed. And yes, I have a steering wheel on the way. I can't even tell you guys how many comments I've gotten about the steering wheel. I'm doing my best to get it here as fast as possible. The company has said that they are working on it and it's supposed to ship ASAP. I wish I could make it happen faster, but I can't. It'll be here soon, I promise. I think that in the long run, this car is going to be iconic. And the reason that I say that is because we've never seen a partnership like this before that has been this controversial. The fact that partnerships happen all the time with other car companies, and these collaborations have already existed for so long, but people don't talk about them as much as they do about this one, says a lot. Now, whether that is good or bad, it is still marketing. It still works for Toyota and BMW. This engine is amazing. It's also extremely easy to work on. So without question, this car has quickly become one of my favorite cars that I've ever owned, and I've owned a lot of cars. I personally think it's remarkable that you can get into a car like this for $50,000. There's also something to be said about like the curb appeal of this car. It just has this like supercar presence to it, and people really are not used to these cars yet. There's just not that many of them on the road. So when people see me driving this car, they're in awe. And I'm talking about people who are car enthusiasts and people who are not car enthusiasts. The people who aren't car enthusiasts are usually mind blown when I tell them this is a Toyota and it costs $50,000. The people who are car enthusiasts usually say, you know, in the beginning, I hated this car, and now I love it. When I made my second video about this car, I said everyone who's hating on this car, keep that same energy in 6 months. I cannot tell you how many people have emailed me, messaged me, putting comments on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
When you first bought this car, I was not a fan, and now I am falling in love with it. John, I want to trade in my current BMW and I want to get the Supra.
I cannot tell you how many people have slept on this car, because they're starting to realize how easy it is to make really, really good power, how reliable these cars are, how cool they are, and how good you can make them look. Another car that I think is going to be identical to the way that this one has been perceived, aside from the collaboration, is the G80 M3. I think everybody hates those grills, but I think once you start seeing them modified on the road, everyone's gonna start switching up. There's a massive sheep-like mentality when it comes to people who hate on cars in the car community. Any sort of pushback or criticism on a certain vehicle starts to get a little bit of traction, everybody jumps on. It's just like when these kids are saying nice BMW and you just kind of grab your head like, oh no, you didn't. Like, it's just so cringy when people say that because you know that they just heard it online. So let's just get down to the premise of this video. If you own this car or you were thinking about buying this car, please stop letting the opinions of others online sway your decision. No matter what you do, no matter what you buy, no matter what you are doing on Instagram or any kind of social media feed, you are going to be criticized. You are going to be met with backlash, and that is just part of life. We have to allow those people to have their opinions and their criticisms so we can have open platforms like this to create discussions. It's all healthy, but what I am gonna say is just have a little bit more confidence in your decisions. Realize that you made these decisions because you liked that car in the first place. And maybe you didn't. Maybe you were like me and it kind of grew on you. But stop letting the opinions of other people dictate your decisions. This car could be called literally whatever you want to call it. I couldn't care less. I just like the car. It's not about the labels for me. And I think a lot of people are just getting caught up. The BMW, the Toyota, the 2JZ, the B58, like what is it? At the end of the day, we have a sports car for $50,000 with an engine that is capable of making 500 wheel horsepower on stock internals with a stock turbo and like 3 modifications. That is incredible. To be able to have a car like this with this sort of curb appeal that is putting out that kind of power daily driven reliably is absolutely remarkable. I feel like I may or may not have just gone on a little bit of a rant, but I'm not going to apologize for it because I think it's valid and I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. Hopefully the message was clear, you guys, today in this video. A couple of things I wanted to update you on. I finally got my new tires up front. They are beautiful. I did the 265 35s and then we have 305 30s on the back. The 265 35s were all I could get right now, so that's why we ended up with it, but it worked out really well. They have the same amount of meat as the tires in the back. The Bupra is 100% just looking like a gosh darn snack. Everything I add to it just continues to improve the overall car. We've got the carbon fiber on the front, the carbon on the sides, the carbon spat on the back, obviously the new beautiful wheels. I'm working on some things for the brakes. Wonderful Valvetronic gold exhaust system, but this thing is coming along, you guys. I'm having so much fun with this car, and like I said, the more that I get into it and the more that I discover, the more that I fall in love with it. And of course, we are working out the tuning right now. It is under the boot mode platform, but it is with a specific tuner, and it is getting very, very good. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I think the point here is that just stop putting so much validity on other people's opinions about the things that you own or what you want to do. Just go ahead and follow your intuition, follow your gut. If you really do enjoy the car, then keep it. Just keep going. Ignore all the other shit outside, all the people online. You're gonna get that hate either way. But if you actually do not enjoy the car for like a legitimate reason, then just move on. There's no sense in complaining or arguing about things online, especially when it comes to these forums. Like, the forums can be a great place for us to get information, but you can also quickly become caught in this kind of shitstorm wheelhouse where people are just complaining and arguing and talking a bunch about other people. It's just ridiculous. There are so many great things about the internet, and along with those great things, unfortunately, come bad things. Enjoy your Mark V, enjoy your B58, enjoy your A90 Supra, because these are absolute monsters on the road right now. And I think as time goes on, people are going to start to realize that more and more. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.